Welcome back to What's Kate Cooking. Today I have a 4-egg omelet with mushrooms and cheese to share. I'm gonna actually top this with some avocado and my homemade salsa, and I've got some bacon to go with it. Now the difference is I cooked this bacon in the oven today, so let's go ahead and get started with how you can make this omelet for yourself and someone else. All right, today's bacon is going to be baked in the oven versus pan fried on the stove. Much easier cleanup. And I'm gonna preheat the oven at 350. And again, I cut my bacon in half, and then usually I'll freeze one of the halves and just use the other. As we're waiting for the oven to preheat, I do have my pan back here for some mushrooms and my big pan for a 4-egg omelet to share. And the back one is preheating on a 4, the front one on a 3. I'm also going to add some butter here. That pan has some water in it, so I just cleaned it, but going to add some butter there as well. So now we've got our bacon prepped for the oven, our pan's heating and buttered, and then we've got 2 smaller mushrooms I'm using today. I'm just weird about some things sometimes, so that's what that's about. I'm going to just put those in there. Here we have 4 eggs. Salt and pepper. Let's mix these around. And I'm gonna add some salt and pepper to these 2. Ooh, yum. So good. I'm gonna turn this burner down to a low and may add a little bit more butter. Not sure yet. All right, the oven went off, so it is time to put the bacon in. I'm gonna put it on the middle rack, I think. And I am gonna go ahead and set a timer. It's too easy to forget about the bacon. You usually know when it's close to being done because you can smell it, but then you better be on it. But I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. Let's check on everything else. And again, the mushrooms are now on just a low heat. And the omelet's gonna take forever to cook because of how I like my eggs. So that's okay. All right, let's check everything. We've got our mushrooms here. Looking great. We've got the omelet. Yes, that's doing good too. I am actually going to turn the mushrooms off. And so we've got our omelet and our bacon. My burner is a little uneven, that's why we see this is mostly done and this side's not as, and this side's just not as done. So I'm just trying to get some of that egg kind of spread out a bit more. And at this point, I'm just gonna kind of speed up that cooking process and move those eggs around a little bit more. So that they cook. So we can finally flip it and eventually have breakfast. And the bacon is about to go off, but as we can see, that is not ready. You could flip it at this point. I'm just going to extend the timer for 5 minutes. And I think we are good to flip this one now. No, it broke. I hate when that happens, but that's okay. Nothing a little cheese can't fix. Okay, going to flip it again because there is a tiny bit of egg on the side that I just want cooked. And again, that's just a really quick flip to get those other pieces cooked. I am going to, at this point, turn this burner off. Add some cheddar cheese. Add our mushrooms. We're going to give this a fold and let it keep cooking. Again, turn the heat off and let's check the bacon because I'm pretty sure it is ready. Oh yeah. Okay. And I'm not going to put it back in the oven because it's done. It's just a matter of letting that cook a little bit, which it will do within the residual heat and the grease there. So with that bacon, gonna just put it on a napkin to absorb some of that oil. Now this cleanup is so easy, but you do want to at least let your foil cool down a little bit, but it's really as simple as just balling that up and putting it in the trash. So easy for the bacon cleanup when you cook it in the oven. And here we have that omelet that I'm actually sharing. So I'm gonna cut this in half in just a moment. I've topped that with avocado, my salsa. And then for dinner, I've got some pork ribs in the crock pot. That's a sweet potato steaming there with it. And there's the other half of that omelet. Do you ever want to make ribs but think it's too much trouble or they may not come out tender? If so, keep watching because I've got a pretty good hack on how to make some really good ribs. So I've got some pork loin back ribs, just over 2 pounds. And I'm cooking them in the crock pot today. So these are the ribs with salt and pepper only. And it is 6 a.m. when I started them. It has been 2 hours and here we have the ribs. Yum, looking delicious. By the way, this is on a high heat. And here I'm going to be preparing a sweet potato that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna just stick right in with the ribs there. Rinsed it. I just cut the tips off and then just poke in some holes in it. So I'm going to butter the foil there. Add some salt. I'm going to add just a little bit of brown sugar. Now I am going to use one more piece of foil. And then this is going to go right in here with the ribs. Nice and easy. Now the ribs with the sweet potato in there, I'm actually going to go ahead and put this on a low heat. It is almost 10 a.m. so the ribs have been in the crock pot for 4 hours. And here we have that sweet potato. It's getting soft. But really what I wanted to do was add some more seasoning to these ribs. And mainly because the seasoning I normally use, I cannot find at the store anymore. So I was hesitant to use this, but I'm just going to use it anyway. And it's just a savory steakhouse seasoning. I'm going to just throw that on there. And then also I'm going to add some garlic. And these are already cooking up really well. By the time they go in the oven, they should be falling off the bone. And to be honest, I didn't even salt and pepper the inside, I don't think, earlier. So I'm going to do that now too. Or this side rather. I was calling it the inside because of how it was folded in the crock pot anyway. And then these are going to go just right back into that crock pot. And the sweet potato, I'm just laying there on top. I don't want it to get into that juice down there. Even though I wrapped it pretty good, I just want to keep it as separate as possible. And again, low heat, just about 10 a.m. Few more hours for those to fall off the bone. It is 11:30 and I'm prepping the asparagus. I'm gonna just put that in the oven, probably with the ribs just wrapped separately. But I did rinse this asparagus, now just cutting off all that bottom half. And then I've got some foil lined out here. I'm going to just smear some butter on there. Adding some salt, some pepper. Onions and garlic would be a good option too, but to be honest, I am kind of rushing. So but just getting those prepped and ready to stick in the oven with the ribs. By the way, let's check the ribs. And so remember, this is our sweet potato. That is definitely probably done. Let's take a quick look at that. Yum. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So that I'm going to leave out. Now, let's check these ribs. And I think they are almost to the point where they're going to be falling off the bone, so that's perfect. Yep, we can already see they're starting to fall apart there. But I'm going to leave these in here a bit longer, putting the lid on, and then they're going to go into the oven. The oven will be at 250 degrees. It is 12. The ribs have been in the crock pot for 6 hours, about 2 hours on high, I think, and then after that, a low setting. So look, they're already falling off the bone. So I'm going to turn that crock pot off and unplug it. Now look at those. Oh my goodness. You have to be careful when cooking ribs. If you overcook them, the bone itself will start to deteriorate in a sense, fall apart. And you don't want your meat that soft. You don't want the bones that soft, because then you're kind of getting bone too. So a great temperature here. We can see that meat coming off the bones. So while I've grown up with this barbecue sauce and used it my entire life, essentially, I have found that they use the high fructose corn syrup. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of the fact that it is the second ingredient there. But they didn't have the other one I've switched to at the store. So going to just use this and the other bottle I bought. Now, if you have a brush, it would be easier to brush this sauce on them. I don't, but I do have my favorite spatula handy. One of them. I love all my spatulas. And then just going to smear the barbecue sauce on the underside. Put a pretty generous amount. Now, one reason I do like that barbecue sauce is because the flavor is so good. But again, would not recommend it with the high fructose corn syrup. I don't really care to use it myself. We've already covered that. But look at this meat on this part right here. It's just falling apart there. But really nice and meaty ribs here. And at some point, I will put these on a broil just to get them to kind of char just a tiny bit. And again, have the oven preheated at 250 degrees. God, these look so amazing already. I mean, they're pretty much done, but I'm not ready to eat. And I'm gonna just get them charred a little bit, let them cook a little bit longer. Think those look good. And just doing that because I do have that sweet potato, which is really already done, so I don't need to put that in there. But I do have that asparagus, which it's not gonna fit that way. There we go. That I'm going to also just slow cook in the oven alongside these ribs. So let's go ahead and get it in the oven. I am going to set a timer here. For at least an hour. I'm gonna probably check them in 30 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. 5 minutes left on these ribs, but we're not done because I'm gonna stick them back in under broil. But wow, they look amazing. And we need to check the asparagus here. Oh yeah, that asparagus is definitely done. So we're gonna remove that and we're going to stick these ribs back in. I'm gonna put it on a high broil. If you do this, you have to be watching the oven because broil, especially on high, is no joke. So I'm gonna pop it in there on high broil for just a couple of minutes. I'm gonna add a little more salt, pepper, and a little more garlic salt as well. All right. Let's also quickly check the ribs, but check out the sweet potato. And I am kind of silly. I like to cut it just like this here. But definitely tender. Oh yeah, we can see these. Okay, so again, no joke, you've got to be on top of the ribs on grill. Yum. Going to just flip them and leave them in there for this last minute. I've got my plate all ready, just need those ribs. And I can smell them, so I know they're done. Yes, okay. Turning broil off. Let's go ahead and see if these are falling off the bone. Not quite what I'm used to. But good nonetheless. So I'm gonna take, and I mean, they are coming off that bone pretty easy, as we can see there. I'm gonna just add that to my plate. And here we have dinner.